The first human to try capsaicin-9 didn't die. That, in itself, was a cosmic miracle. For centuries, every known species in the galactic concord classified the molecule as a Class 0 biochemical hazard, the kind that melted internal tissue, dissolved nerve endings, and triggered agony so pure that even pain suppression implants failed to filter it. Entire wars were fought to control planets where capsaicin-9 existed. It was not a weapon, it was a curse. So when the humans arrived, pale-skinned newcomers with their chaotic laughter and their strange habit of seasoning everything with ground-up organic toxins, the galaxy watched in silent disbelief. Dr. Rolek von remembered the day vividly. As chief xenobiochemist of the Concord Research Station Icarian, he had analyzed poisons that could vaporize an elephant's mass in seconds. But humans fascinated him. They didn't just endure pain, they sought it. He stood behind a glass panel in Laboratory 9, mandibles twitching in curiosity. Inside, a human was about to taste the unthinkable. "Mr. Cade, I must reiterate," Rolek's voice came through the translator grid, precise and worried. "Even a nanogram of this compound can induce catastrophic tissue necrosis in most species. It's not, how do you phrase it, safe." The human grinned, eyes glinting like he'd just been dared by the universe itself. "Doctor, we've eaten ghost peppers. This'll be fine." He dipped a fried cube of protein into the sample, bright red, almost glowing, and popped it into his mouth. Rolek braced for the scream. Instead, Cade coughed, exhaled sharply, and then laughed. "Oh, that burns. Woo. Yeah, that's got a kick." He reached for his flask. "You got any milk?" Rolek froze. The translator hiccuped, struggling to categorize the emotion coming through. Not pain, not fear, but exhilaration. The human's vitals spiked briefly, then stabilized. Heart rate, elevated but functional. Neural activity, surging in pleasure regions. Cellular breakdown, none. The impossible was happening. "You're telling me," Rolek said slowly, "you enjoyed that?" Cade wiped sweat from his brow, grinning through tears. "Enjoyed it? Doc, that's the good stuff. My tongue's on fire. You gotta bottle this." Rolek blinked his triple eyelid. "Bottle a neurotoxin?" The footage spread across the Concord net within hours. Thousands of species watched, stunned, as a human willingly consumed what their ancestors had labeled the starbun. The reactions were immediate. "Fabrication!" cried the Thraxi biolords. "Propaganda stunt," muttered the Kilvar Syndicate. "Or perhaps," said the elder of the Vereen Collective, "humans are what happens when evolution loses patience." Within days, more humans volunteered for trials. Some wept from the intensity. Others laughed uncontrollably. None died. Rolek ran hundreds of scans. No tissue damage, no nerve decay, no cellular rupture. The toxin merely triggered a sensation, a message of danger interpreted as pleasure by the human brain. Their nervous systems didn't treat pain as a barrier. They treated it as a form of entertainment. Rolek documented it carefully. Humans exhibit an extraordinary adaptation, an ability to perceive biochemical agony as an emotional or sensory thrill. The molecule capsaicin-9, previously a universal deterrent, acts as a recreational stimulant for them. Their biology doesn't just resist destruction, it redefines it. He hesitated before adding the last line. "I believe this species may weaponize pleasure itself." Later that week, Rolek was summoned to the High Council chamber. 12 species sat in the ringed hall, 1,000 lights gleaming over them. At the center, a hologram of the human, Cade, munching happily on a glowing red fruit labeled capsaicin-9. Dr. Vaughn, rasped Counselor Zyra, whose translucent skin shimmered with disapproval. "Explain how this primitive mammal consumed a substance fatal to all known life," and smiled. Rolek inclined his head. "I can only theorize, Counselor. Human neurobiology processes threat signals differently. Their evolution favored resilience through exposure. They burn, scar, and rebuild stronger. The very mechanisms that should destroy them seemed to entertain them. Another counselor scoffed. So they like pain? Not precisely, Rowlack replied. They fear it yet chase it. Their minds crave the edge between survival and destruction. The chamber buzzed. Words like psychotic, unstable, and militarily dangerous echoed around him. Counselor Zyra's voice lowered. Doctor, do you comprehend what this implies? If humans can reframe suffering as pleasure, deterrence becomes meaningless. How does one threaten a species that laughs at pain? Rowlack had no answer. That night, he sat alone in the dim observation deck, staring at Earth's delegation ship docked outside. The humans were celebrating. Their commander, Captain Arlen Vega, had invited several alien dignitaries to a tasting event. Out of curiosity and scientific duty, Rowlack attended. The moment he entered, he was assaulted by smells that made his antennae curl. Burnt oils, tangy smoke, searing spice. Humans gathered around open flames, tossing food onto glowing metal grates. Dr. Vaughn. Vega greeted warmly. You're just in time. We're introducing the galaxy to hot wings. A line of aliens watched cautiously as humans dipped meat into vats of red-orange liquid. Some fainted from the fumes alone. The humans laughed. They weren't mocking, they were sharing. Try it, Vega said, offering Rowlack a sterilized sample cube. Rowlack hesitated. He had studied the molecule. He knew it could liquefy his stomach lining in seconds. But his scientific curiosity, and something else, something akin to awe, pushed him forward. He extended his feeding tendrils, dabbed the tiniest trace, and recoiled instantly. A jolt of raw fire exploded through his nerve. His mind screamed. His limbs trembled. He nearly dropped the sample, but as he gasped, he saw Vega's grin. That's the burn, Doc. Feels alive, doesn't it? Alive. That was the word. Not just pain. Life compressed into heat. For the first time, Rowlack understood. Humans didn't eat to survive. They ate to feel. As the party roared on, Vega raised his glass. To flavor, to fire, and to the beautiful stupidity of trying everything once. The room erupted in cheers. Rowlack watched them, half terrified, half mesmerized. He opened his datapad and typed a single line in his private log. If this species ever learns to weaponize what they call spice, the galaxy will burn, and they'll call it dinner. He Council should have banned capsaicin, the moment humans named it spicy. Instead, they legalized it as a controlled culinary compound. That loophole changed everything. Within months, human trade ships carried bottles of bright red sauce into every corner of the Concorde. They called it hot sauce, and it came in hundreds of varieties. Inferno, Dragon's Breath, Lava Tongue, Atomic Firestorm. To aliens, these were warnings. To humans, they were advertisements. The galaxy laughed at first. Then they realized humanity wasn't joking. Dr. Rowlack Vaughn had stopped laughing long ago. He sat in his lab aboard Icarian, surrounded by samples of foodstuffs labeled mild, medium, and extreme. The word mild still confused him. It was supposed to mean safe, yet even that category could ignite the sensors of his environmental filter. His assistant, a young Solarian named Dean, leaned over a readout, eyes wide. Doctor, the Kvor Confederacy just announced a trade ban. They claim their workers developed neural trauma after trying human condiments. Rowlack rubbed his eyes with a trembling hand. And yet, humans sell out of them daily. Remarkable. Why don't they stop? Dean asked quietly. Rowlack stared at the data. Because, Dean, they don't see it as pain. They see it as triumph. Across the stars, that triumph became culture. Humans hosted spice challenges on alien worlds. Entire gatherings of species watched in disbelief as humans competed to consume the most lethal sauces without flinching. On the mining world of Mixer 4, one contest ended in tragedy. A local chieftain, desperate to prove his strength before human investors, demanded to participate. He swallowed a single drop of Hellstream sauce, and collapsed instantly, his body convulsing as his neural pathways overloaded. The humans mourned, genuinely horrified. But the damage was done. The footage spread faster than light. The galaxy saw a grinning human shouting, "This is nothing," moments before an alien leader died trying to match him. Overnight, spice became a weapon of humiliation. Rowlek was summoned to testify again before the council. The chamber was filled to capacity this time. Military observers, trade ministers, and even alien psychologists. A single holographic bottle of Inferno sauce hovered in the center like evidence at a murder trial. Counselor Zyra's voice sliced through the silence. "Dr. Vaughn, explain to us why this madness continues. Billions now mimic human consumption patterns. Some species are suffering chemical addiction." Rowlek nodded grimly. "Humans have a unique relationship with adversity. What we call suffering, they call stimulation. They teach their young through discomfort. They test themselves against pain to feel alive. It's not cruelty, it's identity." The Cernak general interjected, voice cold. "Identity or not, Doctor, their habits have destabilized 3 sectors. The Morith colonies are rioting. They refuse to eat anything that doesn't burn." Murmurs filled the hall. Someone whispered, "Cultural contamination." Rowlek spoke softly. "It's not contamination. It's contagion. They share their endurance the way others share light." "Endurance doesn't justify chaos," snapped another. Rowlek met their gaze. "Perhaps not. But you cannot stop it. You can only learn from it." Later that night, Rowlek joined Captain Arlen Vega aboard the human ship Solace. The captain greeted him with the usual grin, though his eyes looked older. "Rough day, Doc?" Vega asked, setting 2 glasses on the table. Rowlek sighed. "They fear you, Captain. Not because you wage war, but because you redefine it." Vega tilted his glass. "War? Over sauce." "It's never just sauce," Rowlek murmured. "It's philosophy. Pain to you is proof of strength. To them, it's madness. You're showing the galaxy that agony can be a form of pleasure and power." The human chuckled softly. "Power, huh? We just like to push limits." "Exactly," Rowlek said. "That's what terrifies them." Weeks later, the Icarian received an emergency transmission. The Zyrek Dominion had deployed a new bioweapon during a border skirmish, capsaicin 9 gas. They intended it to cripple human colonies. It didn't. Instead, reports showed human soldiers advancing through the haze, coughing, tearing up, but laughing. The gas meant to incapacitate became their rallying cry. Rowlek watched the footage in disbelief. Soldiers with red eyes and blistered lips charged forward, shouting battle cries between fits of coughing. Their opponents broke ranks in horror, believing them possessed. The war ended in 3 hours. The Concord demanded an explanation. When Vega arrived at the council hearing, his uniform still carried scorch marks. "They thought they could drown us in fire," he said. "Turns out we've been eating fire for breakfast." From that day, no one underestimated humans again. Spice exports doubled. Cultures that once outlawed flavor began importing human chefs to prepare tamed versions of Earth cuisine. Yet even diluted, it reshaped them. Entire species began experimenting with their own biochemistries, trying to find pleasure in pain. Some succeeded. Some didn't. And through it all, Rowlek watched, half proud, half afraid. Humanity had turned a universal toxin into a symbol of resilience. But every symbol casts a shadow. Months later, Vega invited Rowlek to Earth for the annual Global Spice Festival. It was held in New Delhi, a city glowing under ribbons of red light. The air shimmered with scent and sound, alive with laughter and heat. Crowds filled the streets, tasting, cheering, daring one another to go hotter. Vendors offered samples labeled Level 1, Tangy Level 7, Despair Level 12, Transcendence. Rowlek hesitated before trying Level 1. It hurt, but less than before. He could almost appreciate the warmth beneath the sting. Vega laughed when he coughed. "You're getting better, Document. Maybe one day you'll like it. Rowlac smiled faintly. Or perhaps, Captain, I'll learn why you need it. Vega looked toward the skyline, glowing orange against the night. Because comfort makes us soft. Pain keeps us sharp. That's how we survived our world, and how we'll survive yours. Later that night, Rowlac wandered through the festival alone. Everywhere he looked, humans celebrated heat as if worshipping a living god. He saw children laughing through tears, couples daring each other to eat more, old men telling stories about the burn. He realized, then, that spice wasn't about food or even sensation. It was humanity distilled, reckless, resilient, unbreakable. They didn't conquer pain. They befriended it. And if they could do that with agony, what could they do with fear, with loss, with war? As fireworks erupted overhead, Rowlac dictated his final entry for the night. Observation 742. Humanity continues to transmute suffering into meaning. The molecule once labeled the galaxy's deadliest poison is now a cultural bridge, and a warning. Their greatest weapon is not their technology, but their willingness to feel what others flee. They do not burn to destroy. They burn to live. He looked toward the humans dancing beneath streaks of firelight and murmured, "Perhaps, Captain Vega, the stars were never ready for your flavor." The galaxy changed flavor before anyone realized it. At first, it was subtle. Markets stocking mild earth sauces, restaurants adding a spice section, alien influencers filming themselves surviving the human challenge. What began as entertainment became obsession, and obsession, inevitably, turned into identity. Dr. Rowlac Vaughan watched the transformation from the observation deck of the Solace. Below, the colony world of Eurytus shimmered with a million red lights. They weren't warning beacons. They were spice festivals. "Do you ever wonder," he asked quietly, "if they understand what they've unleashed?" Captain Arlen Vega smiled faintly beside him. "Oh, they understand. They just don't care." A decade after the so-called capsaicin incident, the Spice Age began. Humanity's exports reshaped economies, cultures, and even physiology. Species that once recoiled from the faintest sting now cultivated hybrid crops infused with diluted capsaicin 9. For the first time in galactic history, trade wasn't driven by necessity, but by curiosity. But curiosity burns. Some species adapted poorly. The Telnari's entire digestive ecosystem collapsed after a generation of exposure. The Vorlons weaponized capsaicin derivatives in military testing, resulting in a planet-wide evacuation. To many, this was proof humanity's culinary contagion was a threat to galactic stability. To others, it was proof of something deeper: resilience could be learned. At the Grand Concord Summit, the tension was palpable. Delegates from over 200 species filled the massive chamber orbiting Tavor Prime. The walls shimmered with holographic projections of spice molecules, market trends, and cultural map. In the center stood Vega, wearing a dark uniform with a crimson insignia shaped like a flame. Counselor Zyra's voice resonated coldly. "Captain Vega, humanity's influence has destabilized our social and biological order. Your so-called flavor revolution has driven multiple civilizations toward collapse." Vega met her gaze. Collapse? Or transformation? A murmur rippled through the assembly. Zyra's expression hardened. "Transformation through pain is barbarism. You've infected the galaxy with your masochistic rituals." Vega lit a cigarette, ignoring the scandalized gasp. "You're welcome," he said simply. Rowlac, seated among the observers, sighed. He knew this would escalate. The Zyrek representative stood next. "Your species cannot keep redefining suffering as strength. It's dangerous." Vega exhaled a lazy stream of smoke. "It's how we survived Earth. We didn't have the luxury of comfort. You all evolved in paradise. We evolved in fire." The room erupted in protest. Vega didn't flinch. "And here's the funny part. You love the burn now. You say it hurts, yet you crave it. That's not corruption. That's evolution." Later, as the council dissolved into chaos, Raleigh confronted Vega in the corridor. "Do you enjoy antagonizing them?" he asked. Vega grinned. "They need a reminder. Pain isn't the enemy, they've just forgotten that." Raleigh studied him. "You talk like a philosopher, but you act like a soldier. Which one are you, really?" Vega flicked ash from his cigarette. "Both. Because sometimes you have to fight for an idea. And this one's worth fighting for." The council fractured that year. Half the member races voted for a cultural containment act, banning further spice exports. The other half demanded freedom of trade. The resulting split became known as the flavor divide. Humanity naturally chose defiance. Vega led a convoy through blockade lines, carrying relief supplies and spices to worlds that begged for them. His actions, though technically illegal, made him a legend among border colonies. The media called him the Firebringer. Raleigh accompanied him on several missions, documenting the phenomenon. Everywhere they went, he saw the same paradox: pain and joy intertwined, fear and fascination coexisting. Children dared each other to taste, elders wept while laughing. The burn had become more than sensation, it was communion. On the icy moon of Velis 9, Vega's ship was intercepted by the Zyrek fleet. The Zyrek commander's voice boomed across the comms. "Captain Vega, surrender your cargo. You're in violation of the containment accord." Vega smirked. "You can have the sauce when you pry it from my cold, flaming hands." Blasters charged. Shields flared. For a moment, Raleigh thought Vega had finally gone too far. But instead of firing, Vega ordered a transmission. He broadcast a live feed to the Zyrek flagship, a challenge. A simple wooden table appeared on their holo display. 2 bottles sat between them: Zyrek Cryoga's extract and Inferno human hot sauce. "Let's settle this the human way," Vega said, smirking. "You drink yours, I drink mine. Whoever stays conscious wins." The Zyrek commander laughed, thinking it a joke. It wasn't. The duel was streamed across the quadrant. The Zyrek commander's species was immune to most toxins, but capsaicin 9 wasn't like other molecules. Within seconds, his mandibles twitched. Within 30, his thermal glands overloaded. He collapsed before a galaxy of witnesses. Vega, sweating and coughing, raised his bottle in salute. "Good game." The feed ended. The blockade dissolved within a day. When Raleigh found him afterward, Vega was alone in the medbay, eyes bloodshot but defiant. "That stunt could have killed you," Raleigh said. Vega chuckled weakly. "Yeah, but think of the ratings." "Arlen," Raleigh's voice softened, "you turned pain into politics." The human smiled. "No, document. I turned fear into flavor. They feared suffering, so we taught them to taste it." Years passed. The Concord adapted, grudgingly. The Spice Accord replaced the Containment Act, establishing safe-use standards for interspecies culinary trade. But something deeper had shifted. Entire alien academies now taught human tolerance studies. Soldiers trained with capsaicin exposure as resilience conditioning. Philosophers debated the doctrine of the burn. And Raleigh Vaughan, once a scientist, became its reluctant chronicler. His final report, delivered before the newly reformed council, was brief. "Humanity's greatest contribution is not technology nor conquest. It is reinterpretation. They turned poison into flavor, pain into art, fear into fascination. They have not infected us, they have reminded us of what we forgot. To live is to burn, and to burn is to feel." The chamber was silent for a long time after he spoke. Then, quietly, someone clapped. Then another. Soon the sound filled the room, an echo of reluctant admiration. That night, Raleigh stood once more beside Vega on the observation deck. Below them, the stars flickered like embers scattered across an infinite pan. "You know," Vega said, lighting another cigarette, "one day they'll forgive us." Raleigh smiled faintly. "And if they don't?" Vega blew a slow stream of smoke. "Then we'll feed them until they do. They stood in silence, watching the galaxy glow. Somewhere below, millions were discovering the joy of heat, the thrill of sensation, the strange comfort in discomfort. Rollick finally murmured, "You've changed them, Captain. All of them." Vega nodded. Or maybe they just needed permission to change themselves. As the stars shifted beyond the viewport, the galaxy no longer looked cold. It shimmered with warmth, alive, restless, and unafraid. And somewhere, between pain and pleasure, humanity had found its place among them. The ember flared once, then faded into the void.